Hey everyone, it's me, Opinions by Mike, and today I'm here to talk about why Sergio Perez will be dropped from Red Bull this year. Sergio Perez has been a solid number 2 driver ever since he joined Red Bull, but the caveat is he has been doing so in a car that is miles ahead of every other team. There's no question that Red Bull has been dominant. They have literally won every race this year and by quite a margin as well. Their car is so dominant that Red Bull doesn't need a 1A and 1B driver pairing, because no matter what happens, Max Verstappen will win the Drivers' Championship. I don't think any driver on the grid is capable of beating him in equal machinery, so the best thing for Red Bull is to have a number 2 driver that is good enough to win them the Constructors' Championship, but also accepts his role as a number 2 driver, and more importantly, does not make any silly mistakes. But that is why I think Sergio Perez is going to be dropped from Red Bull this year. Although I will admit he is a skilled driver, Red Bull do not need the second fastest driver on the grid to back up Max Verstappen given their massive pace advantage. They just need someone who will support Max in his championship run from day one and not make any silly mistakes. Unfortunately though, Perez just makes too many silly mistakes. I think his downfall started in Monaco with his qualifying crash. During FP3 in Monaco, Lewis Hamilton crashed into the barriers and thus had to have his car removed by a crane, due to the special and unique circumstances of Monaco. This, however, meant that the floor of the Mercedes was exposed to the whole world, and this is a very big deal in the F1 world. When I saw the pictures of the Mercedes W14 floor, I was in shock that this was allowed to happen. Given the new regulations, the floors of these F1 cars are essentially the secret to success. Though a lot of attention has been given recently in the media to the side pods, this is only because the side pods are visible to the viewers. The floor normally remains hidden, and usually when it has to be exposed, it is covered by a tarp. F1 teams put a lot of emphasis on hiding the floor because the key to these cars is how the air flows underneath the car. I mean, these cars are literally known for their ground effects. The secret sauce is how the air is directed underneath the car to create maximum downforce, and most of this is done using the floor. The side pods are just there to simply complement this. This is actually why F1 teams can't just simply copy Red Bull's side pods, because even if they copy the side pods, they don't know how to design a floor that matches it. Like I said, the floor of the car is usually hidden, thus protecting the secrets these teams have spent millions and millions of dollars in developing. When Red Bull saw the Mercedes floor was exposed after Hamilton's crash in FP3, they should have told their drivers to avoid crashing at all costs. In fact, I believe Christian Horner explicitly told both drivers to sacrifice the race in order to ensure they don't crash. A pole and a win in Monaco is useless to Red Bull because their team is so dominant that the points gained will mean nothing come the end of the season. I would have told them to drive carefully to avoid having the floor of the car exposed in the event of a crash, given the future success of the team is more important than winning one race. However, this message didn't seem to get through, as literally in Q1, Perez comes through speeding in turn 1 and then loses it. And guess what? Their car is crane lifted and their floor is exposed to the entire world. This is dangerous for Red Bull, since now that everyone's seen the floor, they can reverse engineer Red Bull's entire design and steal it for themselves. Red Bull have essentially leaked the Coca-Cola recipe to the whole world for free by trying to win a meaningless race. Now that other teams can fully steal Red Bull's ideas, I expect them to use these ideas to their advantage and make their car quicker, thus decreasing Red Bull's pace advantage. The unfortunate thing for Red Bull is that their floor is miles ahead of every other team, meaning they have the most to lose because everyone will just copy their concepts. As an example, Ted Kravitz has literally called the Mercedes and Ferrari floor prehistoric compared to the Red Bull. Clearly, Perez has costed them by exposing their secrets and showing their rivals what makes them so quick. And you can kinda tell that the team is mad at Perez for doing this. Helmut Marko came out and did an interview and said that his title run was essentially over, and you can see Newey as well frustrated with Perez for leaking his hard work after his Q2 exit in Spain. And I can't blame them for this. Perez likely went behind their backs in Monaco to try to win and beat Verstappen against their orders, and by doing so exposed their secrets and compromised their competitive advantage. Like I said before, Red Bull has such a massive pace advantage that they don't need the fastest number 2 driver on the grid. They just need one that is good enough to win them the Constructors' Championship and sacrifice himself for Max every race. And that is where Yuki Tsunoda comes in. I believe that the Perez-Red Bull relationship is so unrepairable at this point that I think Yuki will be the number 2 driver at Red Bull next year. With Yuki performing extremely well this year, I think he has shown that he is more than capable to score enough points with Red Bull to win them the Constructors, but he would also have no problem sacrificing himself to Max every race. Also, with Yuki back at Red Bull, they can go back to their tradition of only employing Red Bull Academy drivers, as Perez was an exception outside hire. I can then see Liam Lawson getting a chance with AlphaTauri and maybe Ricciardo as the second driver depending on how Nick DeVries performs this year. I don't think Perez will be completely dropped from F1 though. Ironically, the perfect fit for him would be to replace Stroll at Aston Martin, but this will not happen for obvious reasons. Depending on his attitude, I think he will most likely end up at Alfa Romeo, given they are the most competitive team this year with a spot that can afford his salary demands. However, I will say that given all this, it will likely take time for teams to copy Red Bull. Due to the cost gap, teams can't change their car design too much during the year. Also, I believe that Red Bull's car isn't their most updated design. I am confident that they have upgrades in the factory that they just haven't put on their real car yet because they don't want the pace gap to be too big, since the last thing you want is for the FIA to impose rules to even the playing field because one team is just too good. Similar to what they did to Mercedes the year Verstappen won his first championship. Adrian Newey definitely still has some tricks up his sleeve, and I am sure that he hasn't shown his full cards. In addition, I will also say it is actually quite hilarious how Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari all fell into this trap in Monaco. Aston Martin was the only smart team to avoid this and have their floor not exposed. In fact, I suspect they purposely told Stroll to drive conservatively during the qualifying to avoid this, given his heavy crash history, thus explaining why he qualified so low in Monaco. Given that only Monaco crane lifts their cars to this extent, and that teams will likely have learned their lesson from this, we may never know the true extent to how this will impact the competitive advantage Red Bull has. But Perez has definitely put it at risk by unnecessarily exposing their floor, and by doing so, potentially cost his Red Bull seat. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I hope you enjoyed the video. Keep on the lookout, as I am looking to make more videos going forwards and growing this channel. Stay tuned.